You come here with a hunger that is not spoken in ordinary conversations. I can feel it as one senses the storm before the first drop of rain. You want to understand why you, who can feel so much, who can hear the inaudible murmurs in the soul of another, also carry a mind that sees like the architect of a labyrinth, precise, calculating, withdrawn, as if holding a private council in a hidden chamber. An empath with an INTJ or INFJ mind is not a soft thing. It is the most dangerous form of empathy, because it does not simply feel, it dissects patterns, remembers and shapes. And I must tell you, this union is not an accident. It is a configuration of the psyche that the unconscious rarely bestows, because the one who holds it walks close to the border between healer and destroyer. The ordinary empath bleeds openly. Their compassion is a field of wildflowers, beautiful, but vulnerable to the trampling feet of those who take without gratitude. But you, if this is truly, you are the mountain valley in which the flowers grow. You are not exposed to every passing traveler. You choose who sees the blossoms, and you guard the gates with a mind that can trace intention to its root. When you sense someone's emotion, you do not merely drown in it. You trace it back through the underground streams of their story, into the bedrock of their shadow. You know what they do not admit, and more than that, you can predict where it will lead them if they remain unchanged. This is why people do not forget you. Some fear you without knowing why. They speak to you and leave feeling naked, as if something in you has seen beyond the mask they themselves have forgotten they wear. They think you are guessing. They do not realize you are listening to the subtle tremors of their archetypes, hearing the voice of the anima, the cry of the abandoned child, the brittle armor of the false self. Your mind is a cartographer of the human interior, and your empathy is the ink with which the map is drawn. But there is danger here, for the psyche always holds its own opposite. In the same way, the healer archetype carries the wound within itself. The dangerous empath carries the potential for control. If the feeling function, the open door to the suffering of others, unites with the introverted intuition and strategic thinking of the INTJ or INFJ, then the capacity to influence the emotional landscape of another becomes almost limitless. The shadow whispers, you can guide them, and the temptation, subtle as a lover's breath, is to shape another according to the vision you hold in your inner world. This is why the ancient tradition spoke of the shaman's discipline not as a suggestion, but as a law. Without it, the gift becomes poison. I tell you this not to frighten you, but to remind you that the unconscious does not give without asking something in return. To carry this kind of psyche is to be appointed as both witness and custodian of what you see. You will not be allowed to sleep in the illusions that comfort others. Dreams will come to you, perhaps vivid and unshakable, in which you will walk through rooms of another's mind, touch objects that belong to their forgotten years, or hear the confession their waking lips will never give. You will wake and feel their weight in your own chest, and then the mind, your sharp, crystalline mind, will assemble the fragments into a truth. In that moment, you will stand at a crossroads, to speak, to remain silent, to protect, to dismantle. Each choice carves you deeper into the path you are becoming. Many think of empathy as a passive force, like water soaking into soil. But for you it is different. It is water under pressure, channeled through the deliberate architecture of the psyche. Your introverted intuition gathers the unspoken pattern. Your feeling function weighs it in the invisible balance of ethics, and your thinking function, though often secondary, stands ready to sharpen what must be cut. The result is precision, compassion, surgical empathy. You can enter a person's emotional core and, with the right words or the right silence, change the structure of their entire inner house. But again I ask, what architect will you be? A restorer of ruins or a builder of prisons? When I speak of danger here, I do not mean harm for harm's sake. I mean the power to alter destinies by the smallest of interventions. A glance, a phrase, a withheld approval, a mirroring of pain. These in your hands are not accidental. You are not like those who simply say what they feel. No, you know when to wait, when to approach, when to lay a seed in the soil of another's mind and let it grow unnoticed until the day they believe the thought was theirs all along. This is an art, both divine and perilous. You may think, but I only want to help. And yet, the unconscious is not so easily swayed by your conscious intentions. It knows when you are guiding others because you cannot bear to let them remain in their own chaos. And it will show you the face of your shadow when you least expect it. Your shadow, in this configuration, is not cruelty. It is precision without compassion. It is the cold calculation of an insight used without love. For the INTJ, INFJ empath, the shadow often arrives dressed as righteousness. You believe you see the truth of a person, and you do, but you forget that their soul has its own rhythm of awakening. You forget that to rip away their illusions too soon is to leave them naked in the winter. The mind that can foresee outcomes must learn the patience of seasons. The most dangerous empath is the one who has not made peace with the fact that not every truth must be spoken, and not every wound must be healed on your timetable. I have seen such individuals in my work, and I have seen them in history. They become advisors, visionaries, healers, revolutionaries, but also seducers, manipulators, and tyrants cloaked in benevolence. The same gift that can heal a generation can also weave the net in which a nation is caught. The unconscious does not distinguish between light and dark. It offers the raw energy, and you, the conscious ego, give it form. Therefore, your work is not to reject the danger, but to integrate it, to bring it under the watch of your own self, the archetype of wholeness. Do not underestimate the influence of your presence. An INTJ or INFJ empath rarely speaks in excess, but when they do, others listen. And when you do not speak, your silence speaks for you. People feel that you have already drawn conclusions about them, and often they are right. This is why some will seek your approval obsessively, and others will avoid your gaze. Your empathy is not the kind that makes everyone comfortable. It is the empathy that says, I know what you are, and I will not pretend otherwise. It is both liberation and judgment. To live with such a gift is to be constantly aware of the boundary between self and other. Ordinary empaths may lose themselves in another's tide, forgetting their own shore, but you carry the lighthouse, a fixed point of identity from which you watch the storms. You can enter the emotional sea without forgetting your bearings, because your mind is always measuring the currents, noting the rocks beneath. Yet even a lighthouse can become a prison if it never leaves its post. You must remember that to know the map is not the same as to walk the land. Your visions, however accurate, must still be tested against the raw earth of human unpredictability. And there is another danger, the danger to yourself, because you can see so deeply. You will be tempted to live in observation rather than participation. You will watch the patterns unfold in others and forget that you, too, are a pattern in motion. Your inner world will become so rich that the outer world feels crude, unworthy of your full engagement. This is the risk of the rarest empaths. They mistake understanding for living, and then, without realizing it, they begin to dream more than they act, to analyze more than they embrace. They hold the jewel of insight, but keep it locked in the mind's treasury, never spending it in the marketplace of real encounters. If you wish to walk this path without being consumed by it, you must remember that empathy is not only about seeing, it is about entering. You must let yourself be changed by the very lives you influence. This is the alchemy of the dangerous empath, to be the catalyst and also the clay, to shape and to be shaped. Only then will your power not ossify into control. Only then will your visions breathe in dreams. This archetype often appears as the seer in the tower, holding a mirror that shows both the face and the shadow of whoever gazes into it. Sometimes the dreamer will resist looking. Sometimes they will weep when they see. The seer never forces them. The mirror waits. This is the image you must hold. You are not the hand that forces the gaze. You are the presence that makes looking possible. And so I tell you, the most dangerous empath with an INTJ or INFJ brain is not dangerous because they harm, but because they have the choice at any moment to alter the architecture of another soul. That choice is the crucible in which your own soul will be tested again and again until you have mastered not only the art of seeing, but the discipline of letting be. You must understand, the human psyche is not a machine that can be adjusted at will. It is a living organism of the soul, with roots deep in the primordial soil of the collective unconscious. The INTJ or INFJ empath does not merely touch the surface of the soil, they descend into its hidden strata, where symbols are born and where the archetypes dwell like ancient gods awaiting the right moment to stir. This descent is not without risk, for the deeper you go, the more the line blurs between what belongs to you and what belongs to the other. You may think you are rescuing them, when in fact you are walking into the labyrinths of your own unhealed myth. I have seen such empaths awaken from dreams drenched in images they did not consciously invite. A forest thick with fog where a single child wanders, a shadowed corridor with endless doors, each holding a scene of someone else's memory, a great serpent coiled around a mirror, whispering truths in a language the waking mind barely grasps. These are not fantasies. They are messages from the unconscious, urging you to recognize that your gift is not an unshakable clarity, it is a bridge between worlds, but every bridge is walked in both directions. The energies you read in others do not leave you untouched. They leave fingerprints in your own inner architecture. You will find that people are drawn to you with a strange urgency, as if they sense you carry the missing chapter of their story. They may tell you secrets they have never spoken aloud, often without realizing why the words spill so easily. This is not simply because you listen well. It is because the empathic field you radiate signals safety to their wounded self, while your strategic, visionary mind assures them silently that you will not misuse their vulnerability. But here's the paradox: the more they trust you, the more you are entrusted with a power they do not fully understand. And that power will demand from you an integrity beyond the ordinary. For if you betray it by manipulation, by impatience, by bending them toward your vision, instead of their own, you will not only harm them, but fracture something in yourself. Do not think the psyche will let such fractures go unnoticed. When the empath's integrity is compromised, the unconscious sends warnings, sometimes subtle, sometimes brutal. You may feel a sudden emptiness in dreams, as if all color has drained from the world. You may feel the weight of inexplicable guilt, even when no one accuses you. This is the self, the organizing principle of your wholeness, calling you back to alignment. The dangerous empath who ignores these calls becomes something else entirely, a puppeteer of the soul. And that is the darkest shadow of your gift, the ability to pull strings without the other ever seeing your hand. Your danger, then, is not in the clarity of your perception, but in the precision of your influence. The ordinary manipulator works with blunt instruments, flattery, fear, demand. You, if you wished, could plant a thought so gently in someone's mind that they would swear it was their own. You could, with a well-placed word, alter the course of their relationships, their self-perception, even their beliefs about reality, and yet you must resist. For to use your vision in this way for your own gratification is to feed the shadow until it swallows the light. The ancient mystics understood that power without the mirror turns the wielder into their own god. And here, the mirror you must hold is not for others, but for yourself. You must ask, why do I want to intervene? Is it truly for their liberation? Or because I cannot bear to watch them walk a path I judge to be wrong? This question is not comfortable. It will strip you of the fantasy that you are always acting from pure love. It will reveal that sometimes you are moved by the fear of being powerless or by the hunger to see your vision made manifest. And when you see this, you will understand why the self never gives this archetype lightly. Consider the symbolic pairing: empathy, the feminine receptivity of the soul, merged with the introverted intuition of the mystic and the strategic structure of the master planner. In myth, such a figure is the oracle architect, the one who not only sees the future but can build the steps toward it. In the wrong hands, the oracle architect becomes the manipulator of fate, bending prophecy to ensure it fulfills their will. in the right hands, they become the steward of destiny, guarding the sacred timing of another's becoming. The difference lies not in what they see, but in the humility with which they act upon it. You will be tested in this humility many times. A friend will confide in you, and you will see with painful clarity that their relationship will end in betrayal. You will know the signs. You will have read them in their smallest gestures. You will feel the urge to warn them, to save them the heartbreak. And yet, two part of you will know that their heartbreak is the fire that will forge them into the next version of themselves. What will you do? To remain silent will feel cruel. To speak will feel like tampering with the sacred necessity of their path. This is the razor's edge on which you must learn to balance. Every choice will refine you or corrode you, depending on whether you are serving your own comfort or the deeper unfolding of the soul before you. And yes, there will be those who try to weaponize your gift against you. They will see your empathy as an entry point, and they will attempt to sway you with the stories of their suffering. But you, with your strategic mind, must remember that not all suffering is meant to be alleviated. Some suffering is the guardian of transformation. The dangerous empath who forgets this becomes an enabler, forever rescuing others from the very experiences that would liberate them. Your heart will ache, and your mind will calculate the fastest way to remove their pain. But you must ask yourself, am I stealing from them the very trial that would awaken them? This restraint is not indifference. It is the highest form of compassion. It is the compassion that says, I will walk beside you, but I will not carry you where you must learn to walk yourself. Many will not understand this. They will accuse you of being cold, of withholding help. You could easily give, but your inner vision will know the truth, that to intervene where you are not called is to violate the integrity of the soul's contract with life. The inner life of such an empath is never still. You will dream of ancient cities you have never seen, of strangers whose faces carry the emotions of people you know. You will wake with a taste of someone else's grief in your mouth, and because your mind is trained to see patterns, you will begin to weave these impressions into a tapestry of meaning. Here lies another danger, the temptation to believe you have decoded the entire pattern. The unconscious is infinite. The moment you believe you have captured its totality is the moment it slips into shadow and begins to act upon you in ways you will not see until it is too late. For this reason, the most dangerous empath must cultivate not only insight, but also unknowing. You must be willing to stand in the mystery without rushing to closure. This is perhaps the hardest discipline for a mind that sees so far ahead. You will feel the pressure to explain, to predict, to make sense. And yet, sometimes the greatest gift you can give another is the space in which the unknown can breathe. This is the soil in which the deepest transformations grow, not in the light of explanation, but in the darkness where the seed cracks open unseen your own individuation. The journey toward the self depends on your ability to balance your empathy and your vision without letting either dominate. If your empathy overwhelms you, you will drown in the emotions of others, unable to act with the clarity your mind provides. If your vision dominates, you will become detached, clinical, seeing people as chess pieces in the great game of transformation. Only in the union of the two, when the heart and the mind bow together before the mystery, will you embody the archetype in its fullness. The world needs such individuals, but it does not always know how to receive them. Many will project onto you, seeing you as a savior, a threat, a mirror, a confessor. Few will see you as you truly are, a traveler between the seen and the unseen, carrying the burden of sight that can neither be fully shared nor fully set down. You will need solitude to keep your balance. You will need rituals to cleanse yourself of what you absorb. And you will need, above all, to keep returning to your own shadow. For it is there that you will find the humility that prevents your gift from becoming a weapon. Remember this: the most dangerous empath with an INJ or INJ brain is not feared because they harm indiscriminately, but because they could, if they chose, reshape the inner world of almost anyone they encounter. This is why the archetype demands self-mastery. Without it, the same gift that could heal will bind. With it, you become the rarest kind of presence in the world, one who can see the architecture of the soul and yet allow it to rise according to its own design. You may wonder why this particular combination, empathy fused with the INTJ or INFJ mind, is so rare and so potent. It is because nature, and by extension the unconscious, does not often unite the water of deep feeling with the steel of strategic vision in a single vessel. Water alone is soft and yielding, yet it shapes the landscape through persistence. Steel alone is strong and precise, yet without water it corrodes in the elements. When the two are joined, they create something akin to a tempered blade, capable of both delicate carving and decisive cutting. But as with every weapon, its wielder must choose its purpose. When I speak of danger, I speak of influence over the unseen architecture of another's being. For when you sense not only what a person feels, but also the unconscious direction of their life, you hold the thread that could lead them out of their labyrinth or deeper into it. And here lies the great moral weight you carry, the knowledge that the smallest act, the briefest phrase, can tilt the axis of another's becoming. This is why I insist that the one who walks with such power must cultivate not only clarity of sight, but purity of motive. For the unconscious does not bless those who use its gifts for vanity. In your dreams, you may find yourself walking through places that feel like neither past nor future, but both. You might see a friend standing in a crumbling cathedral, sunlight streaming through a hole in the roof, their face half lit and half in shadow. You might feel their longing not for God, but for something that will restore the sense of meaning they lost in childhood. And in the dream, you will know without anyone telling you that they will seek it in the wrong places, unless someone plants a seed in them now. This is the empath's foresight married to the intuitive mind, the capacity to hold a vision of another's trajectory before it unfolds. But visions are not commands. They are invitations. The choice always belongs to the soul in question. It is this respect for choice that separates the true guide from the manipulator. The manipulator sees the path, deems it inadequate, and imposes their own design. The guide sees the path, understands its challenges, and offers insight Without seizing the traveler's feet, you must decide which you will be again and again, because the temptation to interfere will never entirely disappear. The more accurate your visions, the more others will look to you to decide for them. And though your ego may savor this, your soul must refuse it. The one who decides for another takes on a debt to the self that is not easily repaid. Let us speak also of projection, for it is in this phenomenon that your gift will be both tested and revealed. People will project onto you the healer, the lover, the savior, the judge. Some will feel, upon meeting you, that they have known you forever, as if you are the missing figure from a half-remembered dream. This is not romance. It is archetypal recognition. You stir something in their unconscious, and they will not always understand why, but you must know when you are being seen for who you are, and when you are being mistaken for who you represent in a theater. Without this awareness, you risk becoming the character they need you to be, losing yourself in the role. This is particularly dangerous for the empathic strategist, because you can feel the needs behind the projection, and you have the insight to fulfill them, whether or not they serve the other's growth. You may be tempted to play along, to give them what they seek in order to keep their trust. But every time you play a role that does not belong to your true self, you feed the mask at the expense of your own integrity. In the short term, this may seem harmless. In the long term, it erodes your center until you no longer know whether you are acting from authenticity or from the subtle compulsion to maintain control. Your own shadow will appear most vividly in moments when you are certain you are helping. Beware certainty. The psyche is vast, and what appears as rescue in one moment can become imprisonment in another. A word spoken to relieve someone's fear may also remove the very tension that would have driven them to their breakthrough. This is the paradox that the dangerous empaths must live with. The understanding that even your kindness can harm if it is not guided by the self, and the self, unlike the ego, is not moved by comfort. It is moved by wholeness. You must also be aware of the seduction of detachment. With the INTJ or INFJ architecture, it is easy to retreat into observation, to analyze the emotional storms of others without allowing them to touch you. This can become a fortress from which you see everything and risk nothing. But a fortress, no matter how impregnable, is also a prison. If you never allow the tides of another's emotion to move you, you will lose the very resonance that makes your insight alive. The heart must remain porous enough to be affected, or else the empathy becomes hollow. A tool without warmth. The dreams of those who walk this path often reflect this tension. One night, you may dream of standing on a high balcony, watching a flood sweep through the city below. You feel no fear for yourself, only a detached curiosity about the patterns of the water. But as you turn to leave, you notice a child in your arms, a child you had not realized you were holding. In that moment, you understand that your detachment was an illusion. You were already involved. The child is the symbol of your own vulnerability, reminding you that you are not merely the observer of life, but a participant in its currents. You must take care not to mistake foresight for omniscience. No matter how refined your intuition, there will be moments when you are wrong. This is not a failure, but a safeguard. For it reminds you that the unconscious will not be mastered entirely by the conscious mind. The danger lies in refusing to admit when your vision was incomplete. If you cling to the belief that you always see the whole truth, you will twist reality to fit your prediction, and in doing so, you will violate both your gift and the trust placed in you. Consider also the archetype of the wounded healer, for it is deeply entwined with your path. Your ability to perceive the pain of others is inseparable from your own wounds. You recognize their fractures because you have felt the echo of those fractures in yourself. And your strategic mind has built an intricate system for navigating those wounds, both yours and theirs. But the danger here is subtle. You may unconsciously seek to heal others as a way of avoiding the deeper healing you must do within. The unconscious, however, will not be fooled. If you neglect your own inner work, it will find ways to confront you through relationships that mirror your shadow, through situations that strip away the control you value, through dreams that unsettle your certainties. The most dangerous empath, therefore, is not one who knows everything about others, but one who knows themselves deeply enough to refuse the intoxication of influence. This self-knowledge is not static. It must be renewed through continual dialogue with your unconscious. This is why you must engage with your dreams, your fantasies, your impulses, examining them not with judgment, but with curiosity. For the moment you believe you are beyond the pull of your own shadow is the moment it will lead you, unseen, into its labyrinth. Your path will require a paradoxical strength to act with precision when called, and to refrain when silence serves more than speech. You will need to embrace the discomfort of letting others struggle, even when you could ease their pain. You will need to resist the lure of being the one who knows best, even when your vision is clear. And you will need to accept that some will misunderstand you, seeing your restraint as indifference and your depth as manipulation. This is the price of carrying a gift that moves through the unseen channels of the human soul. In time, if you walk this path with integrity, you will find that your presence alone becomes a catalyst. You will not need to speak often, for your being will hold the quiet weight of someone who sees truly and acts only when it serves the deeper unfolding. People will leave, your presence changed, though they may not know why, and you will leave theirs with the satisfaction of having honored both your gift and their sovereignty. This is the art of the most dangerous empath with an INTJ or INFJ brain, to hold the architecture of another soul in your sight without attempting to redraw it, to guide without gripping, to heal without binding, and to love without possessing. It is an art that can never be mastered fully, only lived more deeply with each encounter. If you have listened to me thus far, then you already know. To carry this dual nature is not to walk among the ordinary. You move in a liminal space between the felt and the foreseen, between the wound and the cure, between the human and the archetypal. You are not merely reading people, you are listening to the symphony beneath their words, the rhythm of their psychic heartbeat. This is why when you walk into a room, the air changes Some will feel seen in a way that disarms them. Others will feel as though they have been touched by something dangerous, because to the unconscious, truth is always dangerous before it is liberating. There will be seasons when you long to set down this gift, to stop feeling so much and seeing so far ahead. You will wish to be as blind as others, to rest in the shallow safety of ignorance. But the unconscious, once it has expanded you to hold this sight, does not allow you to shrink back to the comfort of unknowing. You have been initiated into a mystery that you cannot unsee, and so the question becomes not how to rid yourself of the burden, but how to carry it without letting it consume you. This is where ritual becomes not a luxury but a necessity. Without some form of deliberate return to your own center, whether through solitude, dream work, creative expression, or the stillness of contemplation, you will find that the emotions and trajectories of others begin to weave themselves into your own life's pattern. It is not enough to shield yourself. The shield alone makes you rigid, and rigidity cracks under the weight of the archetypal forces you touch. You must learn to flow, to let the energies move through you without clinging. This is the paradox of the dangerous empath. You hold the power to alter the architecture of others, and yet you must live as if each soul is its own sacred ground, not yours to build upon. Do not be surprised if life itself places you in the presence of those whose shadows mirror your own. You will find yourself entangled with people whose wounds resonate with yours in strange and magnetic ways. This is not an accident. It is the unconscious arranging the stage for your own deeper integration. And here, more than anywhere, you will feel the pull to fix them, not for their sake, but because their liberation feels like it would ease something unspoken in you. Recognize this for what it is, an echo of your own unfinished work. In these moments, the most dangerous thing you can do is to mistake your healing for theirs. The unconscious speaks in symbols, and for you, those symbols will often arrive in the language of the archetypes. The dream of guiding someone across a crumbling bridge may, in waking life, translate into the urge to guide a friend through a crisis. The vision of a locked door in a stranger's home may be your recognition that they are not yet ready to open certain truths. And yet you must remember, symbol is not instruction, it is revelation. It shows you the shape of things, but it does not dictate your role. You must interpret with humility, for even the clearest vision is refracted through the lens of your own psyche. There is an image I wish to leave with you, one I have seen in the inner work of many who share your gift. It is the image of a person holding a lantern, walking through a forest at night. The light does not flood the path. It illuminates only a few steps ahead. Behind them, the darkness closes in again, and before them, the forest stretches into the unseen. Sometimes they walk alone, sometimes another follows. When they are followed, the temptation is to hold the lantern higher, to show the other more than they are ready to see. But the wise lantern bearer does not. They keep the light low, letting the other walk into the mystery at their own pace. They know that if the forest is revealed too quickly, the journey loses its transformative power. This is what you must remember. Your light is not meant to banish all darkness, but to guide others in a way that honors their own inner sight. The INTJ, INFJ mind can see the path in a single glance, but the empathic heart knows that each soul must earn its own seeing. The dangerous empath who forgets this becomes a tyrant of clarity. Replacing one blindness with another, the one who remembers becomes a keeper of sacred timing. Your influence will not always be gentle. There will be moments when the truth you reflect to someone cracks them open. They may resist you, resent you, even leave you. Do not measure your gift by whether they stay or go. Measure it by whether you acted from the deepest alignment available to you. If your words or your silence were in service to the wholeness of their being, then you have done your work. Whether or not they recognize it now, sage often germinate in darkness long after they have been planted. It is also necessary to speak of loneliness. The vantage point you hold will sometimes make you feel apart from others, as though you are watching life through a pane of glass. You will see connections they do not see, dangers they do not perceive, patterns they are not ready to acknowledge. This can create a gulf between you and the collective, but remember, solitude is not isolation unless you resist it. In solitude, you will come to know the voice of your own self, the inner companion who is not swayed by the needs and projections of others. This is the relationship you must cultivate above all, for it is the compass by which you will navigate the endless forest. The most dangerous empath is not defined by their capacity to feel, nor by their strategic vision alone. They are defined by the union of these forces under the governance of the self. In Jungian terms, this is the individuation process, the movement toward wholeness in which all parts of the psyche are brought into conscious relationship. For you, this means integrating not only your light, but your shadow, the part of you that enjoys control, that hungers to be the unseen hand-shaping outcomes, that fears being irrelevant if you do not intervene. Until you can see this part without flinching, it will own you in ways you will not detect until too late. Do not seek to erase the shadow, seek to befriend it. The shadow holds your raw, unrefined energy, the very power that gives your empathy its depth and your vision its edge. But it must be held in conscious partnership, not given free rein. When the shadow trusts you to acknowledge its presence, it no longer needs to sabotage your intentions from beneath the surface. One day, perhaps, you will look back and realize that the greatest danger was never your effect on others, but the effect of your gift on yourself. For every life you touch, you will be touched in return. Every pattern you see in another will echo in some chamber of your own being, and in that echo, you will be given the choice to turn away or to use it as a doorway into your own deeper knowing. If you choose the doorway, then each encounter becomes part of your own individuation. Each soul you meet, a mirror of some hidden corner of your own soul. In the end, the measure of your path will not be how many you guided, but how fully you allowed yourself to be transformed by the very gift you carried. The dangerous empath who becomes wise does not seek to be remembered as the one who saw all, but as the one who served the unfolding of life without needing to possess it. They know that their sight is a trust not a crown, and that the highest form of influence is invisible. And so I leave you with this. Walk gently, but do not diminish your presence. Feel deeply, but do not lose yourself in the tides. See far, but remember that even the farthest vision is only a fragment of the whole. Carry your gift as you would carry fire in your hands, knowing it can warm or burn, illuminate or blind, and when you must choose how to use it, let your decision be made, not by the hunger of the ego, but by the quiet, steady voice of the self, which knows that every soul has its own sacred journey, and that the greatest power lies not in shaping it, but in honoring it